Question number 8, Iain Lees-Galloway.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Workplace Relations and Safety and asks, is the definition of zero-hour contracts in his review of employment standards permanent part-time employment agreements with no set hours of work?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister for Workplace Relations and Safety, as I mentioned to the member in yesterday's question time, the term zero-hour contract means different things to different people. It is, of course, not defined in New Zealand law, and one of the things that we will look at with the review is the different ways in which it has been described. Some people appear to apply it to all casual contracts, others to certain types of casual contracts, and still others as the part-time employment agreements of certain types as well. I'm primarily concerned with reported practices where mutual obligations are unbalanced, and have asked officials to go and talk to workers, unions and businesses to identify specific issues and concerns so they can be addressed. The important thing is to address poor employment practices and ensure we maintain a fair and flexible labour market.
Supplementary question, Iain Lees-Galloway.
Will he support an amendment to the Employment Relations Act to give permanent part-time employees certainty about their hours of work?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister, if the member is referring to his proposed Members' Bill, I have had a look at it. Unfortunately, I don't think it would deal with the issues that he's suggesting that it would deal with. And I think that's one of the challenges of just sort of roaring in and quickly trying to come up with an answer. I think we need to look at it properly and make sure that we get the answer that's actually going to deal with practices that we're all concerned about.
Supplementary question, Iain Lees-Galloway.
Why does he insist on saying that people taking a stand against zero-hour contracts want to ban casual contracts when this is not the case?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
I want to speak on behalf of the Minister. I think there are some different approaches that different people are taking when they're using the term zero-hours contracts. And I think, well, I appreciate the Labor Party has a view, but as they find out from time to time, theirs isn't the only view in New Zealand society, and actually other people have slightly different views, and we've just got to work our way through it. There's no great conspiracy in this. It's just about looking at the situation and addressing particular issues that are there with particular types of agreements.
Supplementary question, Iain Lees-Galloway.
Why does he insist on conflating two separate issues, zero-hour contracts and the deduction of wages when customers drive off without paying for petrol, given that, in the words of his own pollster, David Farrer, the latter issue could occur no matter how many hours you are contracted for, and it is misleading to conflate those issues?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
On behalf of the Minister, Mr Speaker, the simple reality is we are looking at employment standards generally at the moment, and there's been a number of issues raised in recent months that need to be included as part of that review. And so we're doing it, and there appears to be some sort of weird conspiracy about the fact that we're doing it, but the member's point is completely lost on me.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Iain Lees-Galloway.
Why won't he just deal with zero-hour contracts rather than making misleading and confusing statements to distract people from the real issue?
Good question.
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister for Workplace Relations and Safety, it'd be very interesting to take up the member's suggestion for just dealing with zero-hour contracts, because I have read his bill, and it appears that he wants to ban zero-hour contracts by insisting that employers put some hours in the contract. And the way the bill's written, it seems to me that all employers that wanted to have zero-hour contracts could simply put 1 hour in the contract to continue on their merry way. And that's why you have to be very careful as you look at these issues to make sure that you come up with answers. Well,
Order.
Actually, you don't put dodgy bills to select committee and waste everybody's time.
Order. Question number 9, David Seymour.
Thank you, Mr Speaker.